Welcome to RevCast, a Civilization podcast focused on its console platforms.
Elthrasher?
Dupaloo, 1987.
ScottieX.
That's something else.
Dan's gonna love this. There's just randomness all over.
Yeah, I think we've.
Lucky Dan.
Oh, he loves it. It's just what he loves to do.
Recorded for episode 7.
You can see the definitions of what the AI is going for, and it's not the same game every time. I'm really glad for that you can see that Napoleon's going for the cultural win. You can see that Cleo's going for the combative win. You can see that in this, and I can change my strategy based on an era, but at the same time, you can kind of fault CivRev that you go for that cultural win at the beginning, and you're hung out to dry if you don't win. You basically reset the game and start over.
I don't know. I find that you get up to 2000-ish, and you better know which victory you're going for. But sometimes you may still have a couple that are on the table, depending upon which AIs you're playing against and how you're doing. You may sit there and look and say, oh yeah, I'm still on track for getting that spaceship there. Okay, so I still got one or two more techs to get, and then I can start launching a spaceship. Or nope, I'm just too far back. I gotta change gears and build up my war machine and go take those capitals. The one thing, CivRev doesn't give you any warning when the civilization's about to complete a great wonder. It'll give you warnings about getting to an economic victory. When they discovered spaceflight, you'll see the launches and everything else going off, but you won't know that someone else is within 2 turns of finishing off Leo's. If you just put a little more effort in yours, you could probably get it faster.
Wouldn't your screen be bombarded by all these messages, though, because you have the civs and the progress runs so fast? You'd have these screens full of this about to happen, this about to happen, this about to happen, and it becomes more of a text-based game at that point, wouldn't it?
Maybe. Only old-time Civ players would actually notice the difference.
Yep.
Yeah, it could be more common that you obviously get more of those messages because more of those wonders are going to be built and sooner.
Yeah.
But I know, say, in Civ 4, there's a way that you can control what messages you receive in-game and also how that information is presented. Like also in Civilization 4, you can say, don't have a pop-up dialog box on the screen every single time my city completes a building. Just have it off in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, and there's a little icon that, oh, yes, something has been complete, so you just kind of keep your eye there, so that way it doesn't stop you from doing whatever it is you were going to do. Perhaps there's a happy medium there to avoid it from being the text-based game Joe is concerned about, and I think is quite fair. We're also trying to give you that additional information. The thing about being able to see that screen about at any time, I've got these many number of great people. Well, okay, that gives me kind of an idea of what they're going for, at least in rank.
That's true.
And what I find I'll do is even if I'm not going for a culture victory, but someone else is going for a culture victory, I'll be thinking about that possibility and knowing that the AI likes to do that. So once my empire has expanded, my 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th cities, whatever, are half-decent production, they're probably on the front anyway, and they can start doing the military units. Then the back cities that are protected and more developed, like my capital, my 2nd and 3rd cities, they can be going after wonders, not because I want to go for a culture of victory, but to stop the AI from doing that.
Yeah.
Hey, Dan?
Yeah.
Sounds to me like you've played plenty of this game.
Yeah, well...
Sorry, go ahead. I just didn't expect that. I honestly didn't expect you to have that depth of the game so quickly, and it sounds to me like you've picked up on the game quite well.
Watch that, not just for who's going after a culture win or that type of stuff, but I want to see who's going on in tech so I can sort of estimate whether I'm going to be seeing tanks or bombers coming at me in the next couple turns.
Stuff like that, I'm thinking about notifications like that, and I'm thinking about how that's an option, say for Civilization 4, not necessarily specifically, but I know I've seen screenshots where there's more information being presented on screen than your typical game, and then I'm thinking, oh yeah, how is that accomplished in Civ 4? Mods.
Yeah.
Not possible in CivRev.
Recorded for episode 23.
I'm usually not that aggressive, but if I've got 4 cities that can push out Keshik every 5 turns, no matter how many other trade cities I have, then why not make 3 or 4?
I mean, when I have that great a start with nice food cities, I just kind of have fun with it and try to play the longer games so I can have one of those huge Mongol games, but probably horse armies would just be the faster, smarter thing to do.
Well, even if I have 4, I'm not going to end the game with 4. Because, again, they come a little later, so your opponent's probably going to have archer armies or legions or other such things. I tend not to be that aggressive on trying to finish the game. I will use the 4 to vet them up and get them elites and take out the AI caps and poach on the other player. Because that's one of the things as the Mongols. You have to be aggressive with map control. So even if you're not going to kill off your opponent, get the Keshik armies over there, especially in medieval with the extra move, and just harass them. If they move an archer and a settler out, kill the archer. Let the settler go. Follow it. Because you could settler steal with Mongols, but it's so much better to let them settle it and then you take it.
Because you're faster than the settler, so you can just kind of play with it even.
Yeah, you can chase it down.
Honestly, if that guy's smart, he'll just sell it.
Unless you have a horse army that's already back there, you can't catch up with anything, so
yeah.
There's really nothing to do.
And that's part of the benefit of the medieval bonus. Your opponent, say, is an American and starts spamming horses in medieval. Well, he comes forward 2 spots, you back up 2 spots, you turn around and attack.
Because you still have that movement.
Yeah. Putting a march upgrade on a Keshik army.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It's not needed, but it's so much funnier.
Yes.
Just running circles around people is just so much funnier.
Do you ever use a single horseman for 3-tile traps of people sitting it out, settlers and such?
Sometimes.
Or just kind of roaming their territory?
Depends on how much I want to play with my food.
Especially if you get those late free ones.
One little annoyance about that is that you don't get the +1 movement the turn that you hit medieval.
Oh, and you can't even heal that turn.
You get it the turn after, so...
same for German upgrades.
Yeah.
Yeah. The most annoying Mongol bonus is the Barb villages join us, not because you get the cities, but because the Barbs are so friendly towards you, they're not going to tell you anything.
Yeah. Normally, when you take a Barb village with any other civ, you get the 7 cities of gold are right next to your capital, 2 tiles away. You should get that galley finished. I think that happened to me once, that I was just sitting there 2 tiles away from the 7 cities, and somebody else came along with a galley and got it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, man, that sucks.
Yeah, so as much as the focus is getting Keshik armies up, both for defense, to protect against rushes, and for offense, to go get the cities, never forget the galleys.
Yeah, but also you have to explore the map, because maybe even worse than not knowing that you're right next to an artifact is not knowing that you're right next to an enemy civ, like a player like the Zulu or something. If you're playing Russia or something like that, you take a Barb and Zimbabwe is 2 tiles beyond that, it's going to show you that, but not with the Mongols. Instead, you're just going to be like, oh, I guess he's nowhere around. That's good for me. I'm going to start growing this Barb city now,
If you know that there's islands right beside your capital, it's worth it to toss out a galley as soon as you get that first Keshik army together. Or even before that, if you have a little bit of gold and a couple other cities that'll do the production of the Keshik armies.
I have to admit I've never prioritized that.
Sometimes it's worth it.
I'd probably be more likely to do that if I felt like I needed something extra, like if I felt like the game wasn't really going my way and I needed a big break or something.
Or you could use it to flank people, too.
Yeah, that's true. People tend not to expect the Mongols to have a galley, so...
That's the other thing, too, is you load up all your Keshik armies on the galley, go on the other side of their civ, and drop them all off and come back the other way.
I know that I have galley dropped the Spanish using the Mongols, which I think is pretty funny.
Well, it's always funny. It's the Mongols. They've got nothing.
Recorded for episode 23.
So, how do we take all of this information and apply it to other civs that have no gold?
It's a good question. I think it kind of applies. I think that you kind of learn that it's 2000 BC and I don't have 100 gold yet, but what you're doing is still very different.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not tending to horse rush if I have no gold. Maybe with the Aztecs, I'm still just struggling and trying everything to get the horse army out. It's different in that respect. Most other civs, I'll just go straight to expansion, but you have to do that with the Mongols sometimes, too. I mean, if you get one cruddy barb or something like that, you have good bonuses coming up in the later game. So if you can get some cities out, and you have to just go, I grow my city up to 3. Now I spend 5 turns with 2 workers on trees and 1 on grassland, and I get a city, and then I grow it back up. Sometimes you have to do that, and if it works, then probably either your opponent had a really bad start or is just not a very good player, but that takes all kinds. So,
Well, if I'm Mongols and I start in an island,
yeah, same thing.
I actually may forego the Keshik army and just go straight for expansion. I'll expand to all the islands to get fish and some other stuff, and then grow the tech that way. And then I'll start dropping settlers on the mainland by the mountains for the industrial attack.
That's the route that I go to, that unless you get something early on, some pile of gold or
galley drop or something,
some way to kickstart it, then horse rushing off an island is hard to begin with, but as the Mongols.
I think I hope for artifacts when I get the island start with the Mongols.
Yeah.
Well, no, with any civ, if you start on an island, you need to get the galley out fast.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know how many maps I've done it where it's the island start for that particular civ, and the Knights Templar is right there. Or it's on the way to the mainland.
Or 7 cities nearby. That happens a lot.
Or something.
Anchor what? Because if you can go to public, that just makes things so much easier. It turns your 10-turn turnaround for expansion, it cranks it down to 7 turns to get a settler.
Yep.
Which is just do that 3 times. Now you've got 3 cities in 21 turns instead of 3 cities in 30 turns. Really makes a difference.
The Great Wall is sometimes fun, though, especially if you have a bad start.
I guess.
Well, it means they can't kill you right away.
Yeah.
Record over episode 31.
There was a topic that came up on the forums. People are concerned about getting disconnected from Xbox Live, something that's likely to cause an aneurysm, as well as the game freezing, and talked about this. Well, we didn't because you guys weren't part of the show then, but I talked about this, how to prevent your game from freezing, and we talked about quitting out to the Xbox Live menu, don't change governments right after taking your capital, things like that. So this is more about general performance. When you get that you have disconnected from Xbox Live message, most of the time you haven't disconnected from Xbox Live, and people come to the forums and be like, I can still see my friends, never happens when I play Halo or whatever. What the what? I totally sympathize. I mean, that's very frustrating, and I don't know if the message was more descriptive, would it be less frustrating? I mean, what's really happening is you're not disconnecting from Xbox Live, you're disconnecting from your opponent. And eventually, this is kind of theoretical. It's not like I've cracked the game open and watched packets go back and forth or anything like that. But eventually enough data is lost or whatever that the game is like, give up. It dumps you out of the game. It records a loss most of the time. So, yeah, it's annoying. When I first started playing, I couldn't play CivRev online. I had an older router that would sometimes let me stay on up to half an hour. Most of the time, it would kick me off after like 5 minutes. It was definitely, the problem was on my side. I could internet browse a little bit, and that was basically it. If that's your situation, if that's your setup, you're going to have problems. I had problems with any game online, and so what I did is I got a new router, because obviously the one I had was not up to the job. When I got a new router, I was able to play online, and I still got disconnections sometimes and freezes sometimes. And then I moved, and at my new house, I have fiber optic connection, which is at least, these things vary, but 3 times faster than the cable connection, and I barely have any problems at all. Sometimes people post things like, I can't believe they released this broken game that doesn't work right most of the time, and my experience kind of tells me how they did that. They tested it with a good connection, and they never had any problems, and maybe they shouldn't have, but in any case, there's nothing we can do about that now. The point I'm just making is that if you have more bandwidth, if you have a better connection, if you're trying to play at the same time as somebody's streaming video over the same connection, that's going to make it more likely for you to have a disconnection. So just be aware of that. And if you want to blame Firaxis or 2K or whatever, I mean, that's your choice. But in my experience, I found a way to make my performance and my experience as a whole just a lot better.
I have limited bandwidth, so it cuts back to dial-up speed sometimes. And when it did cut back to dial-up a couple of months ago, I found that, the performance of the game, the troubles with the game became worse. But I was actually surprised that it even managed to hover along at all, considering the fact that it has to transfer all the game data at incredibly slow speed that they would have been handing me the restricted dial-up speed. So I'm impressed enough that it can handle that sort of speed at all.
With my cable provider, I was able to actually upgrade my amount of bandwidth I had within my cable package. So you might check with your individual cable provider to see if there are options for some more bandwidth coming into your house if you don't have access to the fiber optic or something else like that.
It's good advice. Again, we're not trying to sell you anything. This is just strictly informational. Take it or leave it.
But Thrasher takes tips, so
yes,
checks.
Yes, you certainly may.
Recorded for episode 34.
Scottie's been pushing this idea of an early catapult rush, actually getting catapults in the ancient era, which means one of your first 4 techs. And you were doing that with Spain mostly, or maybe France. So we don't want to delve too much into that because we've already talked about those civs on this program, but the idea of getting catapults in the ancient era is a little bit fresh, I think. I think most people think of that as a medieval unit.
Zeph has been probably pushing it a bit more than me, and his technique is probably much more linear than mine. But what I've tended to do is, like with yours, you go, you name a tile, you get next to a hut, you get a galleon out, you try and do the normal galleon warrior and drop a capital, that sort of start. And then after that, depending on the scenario, you go and you expand out a little bit, try and find some of those friendly huts for popping techs and things, and then focus pretty hard on your tech. And if France is in the game, maybe you'll buy pottery, masonry, and then maths. And if they aren't, then alpha writing and maths.
Mm-hmm.
It's relatively straightforward from there. Then if you find another AI out there, then you'll buy bronze from them and then buy barracks on the same turn, and then rush out your veteran catapults after that. And make sure when you hit maths, obviously, you don't backfill some techs and zap over out of medieval.
So you're going to try to get 2 non-veteran catapults.
Yep.
Then buy bronze working, hopefully, for 20 gold.
Buy a barracks, so you're going to need to have a bit of gold spare. But quite often with Spain, you can get some pretty good gold spare.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is to do with, you've got your galleon out with your warrior. You've actually gained quite a lot of space for yourself, because you can see a lot of the map, various directions. And hopefully no one's going to be like on top of you too quickly because you can see far enough. And then after that, so you buy your barracks and churn out your catapults, and you pretty often got enough gold for that.
You're going to go to war probably in the 2000 BC to 1500 BC range.
Yep.
With 1 veteran catapult army and 1 galleon.
And probably something there to defend it.
Maybe a warrior army or a couple of archers or something. It seems like since you just bought bronze working, the archers would probably slow you down. It seems like maybe a warrior army might be a better idea.
Yeah, a warrior army or something like that. Depends on what you can pick up on your way.
A single archer would defend at what, like 4 though? If it's vet, that's 2, 3, and then the galleon gives an extra 1.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Chance against legion armies too. 6 versus 4. 4 will win sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You might actually have your second sit on your way. So if you do, and your gallion's out of your first one, then your archer can come from that one, sail by it and pick it up and then off towards the other guy's capital. If it's the opposite direction, then there would be a third city because you're 100 gold, and then there might be a fourth one, depending on where your cities were situated and whether it was worth popping one of those out.
Yeah.
You're doing pretty good, though, I guess, if you got enough gold for buying settler and buying your everything else.
That's a lot of gold, actually.
Yeah.
Because the barracks is 80.
Quite often you do get 7 cities of gold, though, and then you're then you're really smoking the other guy.
It's so hard to win after you get the 7 cities of gold. I mean, that's really neat. Is more different ways to win after you get the 7 cities of gold. There aren't enough at this point.
I've been playing this a bit like just forcing it, but quite often this just isn't that great a strategy to delay that way. I was playing Asmod and I was thinking about going for the catapult rush, and then I just found he was close, so instead I just churned out a whole bunch of legions, went over there and smashed his China. So I mean, off a whole bunch of them next to a second city, and then attacked it, and then both his other ones.
Yeah, that's been kind of my thing. I can see the usefulness of catapults, especially if you're going to play somebody who's going to turtle, and maybe against a Greek player who's going to build a hoplite arm. I mean, of course, there's 9 million different ways to beat that player because he's putting so much resources into defense. But yeah, it seems like a lot of the time just legion armies, because you can get 2 or 3 legion armies out really fast. And that's just going to be a strong, not necessarily expected. Maybe your opponent is expecting it. It's just kind of like, I hope this doesn't happen. I mean, if you're playing up against Spain and that 7 cities you're counting on, you might end up with 3 or 4 legion armies on top of you in 20 turns.
Although with Spain, it's much harder to just get at them like that because, a little galley comes along and then you just go, let's kill that nice and quickly. Go to war with them early and just sail your little galleon up. Oh, here we go. Killed it.
Yeah.
So he'll have to wander over towards on the land if he wants to guarantee that he doesn't get killed that way.
Right.
Yeah, I can see the usefulness for the Spanish to use catapult rush, but I think that the Zulu can use the most of it, because if you're the Zulu, the opponent will mostly have a lot of archers, single archers.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come with a catapult army, you can overrun them. A lot more effective. And Zulu get a lot of gold, and Spain can, better invest in gold in legions.
Right.
And Zulu can get them very fast, because the Zulu just need to have a little warrior out there popping out, getting 2 capitals or something, and you can get that quite often.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you'll probably have a lot more gold with Spain in the same amount of time, so you can just use your 100 gold city, put it close, and use a road to bring over the catapults.
You'll also get a lot of the tech huts. If you happen to be on a map that has tech huts, I don't play the Zulu a lot, but I've played on maps where pretty much every hut gives you a tech, so I'm like, okay, this turn I want to get monarchy, or bam, there I have it. You're going to hit a lot of those when you play the Zulu, so I think you're right, it's probably a good strategy for them. They're also a civ that doesn't start with a tech that's going to get in the way of earning mathematics in the ancient era.
Yeah. I found when you're playing Spain that getting those named tiles, if you're starting to get the hang of how to pick them, that does make a bit of a difference for your gold and how fast you can get out and expand and things. Because you walk along, you get your 20 gold, settle next to a barb hut, build your warrior straight away, take it, and it's starting to look kind of game of the weekish in terms of how fast you're getting moving. Pop out your galleon, whack that warrior that you just popped that hut with on it, and sail out, and suddenly you've taken a capital that's so far away that you might have struggled to get it with the settler walk.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. It's cool that we're always coming up with different ways of playing this game.
Recorded for episode 34.
Get into Code of Laws, you have 3 cities, you have, some gold in the bank, and you're able to get a settler right away. At that point, you can continue to tech and try to get literacy, which can help. You can try to get construction, which can be totally minor or it can be huge. You can try to pick up some of these other things, maybe go all the way up to navigation or monarchy, or you can go all gold and hammers and try to get a lot of cities and then start teching. And I think you'll end up with more cities if you do that, but you might seed some of these early techs that you might want to get. You might even overexpand. Maybe your opponent techs straight to monarchy, is banking hammers, and gets a scientist and gets feudalism, and suddenly there's a knight army, and you have more settlers than any other unit. Settlers aren't very good at fighting knights.
Well, yeah. Mathematically, if like when we were playing Game of the Week or something, if you go gold and settlers and that sort of thing, you'll kill, in terms of speed, you'll kill the strategy of just trying to pick the bonuses up and going that.
Right.
The only bonuses I would recommend getting are you should get literacy every time if you can, because that's a good bonus, and then only get like construction or currency and stuff like that if you really need it. Like, don't go for construction if you don't have like a 2 or 3 hill city.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously. It's an interesting strategic choice that you have to make.
Navigation can be pretty useful for defense, I suppose. I mean, and for being able to sail around and get those artifacts and all the rest of the stuff. Navigation's
I think our rule of thumb, or my rule of thumb usually is try to get them 2 turns or less, no more than 3 turns. So if, like, for literacy, if you're not making 20 or more a turn, don't bother, just work the gold. But if you can pick up a decent bonus in 2 or 3 turns, then consider it.
Thing is that would be a settler instead.
Right.
Yep.
Those are the typical choices we have to make. I think maybe when in doubt, gold and settlers makes the most sense. But what I'm doing is, I said before, I'm building more legions than anything else. These games, early on, set a city to just sit there and build legions. I've done that with the Greeks. I've done that with a lot of different civs. And I feel like it's really security blanket in a way that I don't feel like I have to build much else in the way of defenses. And invariably, I go and pick those guys up and go wreck house later in the game with them.
If you can get your legions similar locations. But mathematically, settlers and then legions should be faster than settlers and legions and then settlers and legions, because you would have more cities to build your legions faster later on, and your legions don't do anything until you actually use them, so having them sit around those extra turns.
Yeah, one thing that I like to do is, as soon as I get into medieval, I always try to get down 1 or 2 top 3 cities with 3 trees, just set them to bank hammers. Covers a security blanket because, 10 turns, you've got 6 legions. You just set it as a wonder, so you wouldn't actually be building the legions, but you'll have 60 hammers banked, so you can get 2 legion armies out. If things are looking good and you kind of expand out from there, you can turn those hammers into a couple settlers. And then if the game does go along and you still have those hammers banked, then you've probably got about 2/3 of Oxford built by the time you get industrialization. Try to get like a 3-forest city by some of your other cities. That way, like if you need legions, you can get a pretty cheap road down or whatnot.
I think that makes sense. Often I'm building a barracks too.
Yeah.
Which you wouldn't necessarily do in that scenario, but...
Yeah, having 60 banked hammers never hurts.
Right.
Doesn't.
Pretty good thing to have. Should we tell our listeners how to bank hammers?
Yeah, you just set what do you want to build to a wonder that costs, 125 hammers or something.
Yeah, you can set it to an expensive wonder.
Or walls works too.
Yeah, as long as you don't accidentally build walls, which would be a bad thing to do.
That city will be safe, though.
Oh, yeah, well, it sure will be. Because, wait, what is 0 times 2?
Yes. It's excellent, anyway. Whatever it is.
You can also just decline to choose anything to build, which is kind of annoying, but it's a little bit safer anyway.
Yeah, it'll pop up. Start of every turn, they'll say, what do you want to build here? So if you have to, like, a button race or something, it's kind of annoying.
It'll kill your button race, it's true. And at the same time, I like to have a galley out there somewhere that's just ferrying settlers around her. Like I'll
2 galleons?
Galleon, you mean?
Right.
I like free ones too, but
I'm hoping for a barb to give me a free galley with the Spanish. That's what I'm going for.
Do I hear a baby?
Yeah, I'm trying to get him to be quiet now. Just a sec. I'll move him.
It's alright. Coming up next on Baby RevCast. Well, probably first we'll talk about the current... Whoa! City's not affected by anarchy, which is a bonus that... India...
Oh, just a sec. Oh, just the wrong time again. Oh, well.
What if you, Whoa, dude.
I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Hello?
I can hear you, but I can...
Hello?
Yeah, getting a lot of noise on the line here. Are you in a wind tunnel or something?
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't do that again.
I actually put a quarter next to my computer. Apparently it causes interference.
The ancient era bonus is +1 food from C tiles, which is...
Just a sec. I think I need to deal with something.
I hope that sound wasn't him hitting the baby.
He dropped his headset. Oh my god.
I think... You see, he's complaining about the mother, not the father. So...
Anyway. The ultimate tech tree for CivRev. I'm stumbling all over my words today.
Lots of us.
The next era for Zulu, the industrial era. Well, that's the next era for everyone. But the Zulu get that. We haven't used very much time yet. What else can we talk about?
How do I turn the volume up on this bit?
This is a family show. You don't say bit.
God damn.
For more information about RevCast, sibling shows PolyCast and Modcast, or about PolyCast in general, log on to the series' official website at thepolycast.net.
We good to go?
I don't know. I think so.
We should probably restart.
Okay, we can restart if you want.
Alright, we can keep going. It'll be fun. Dan will like this.
Dan will like this. He cuts this up and he files it all away.
Dan the man.
Record date.
I started in 2009, 2010, 2011.
Civilization Revolution sound clips. Copyright Take-Two Interactive. Copyright Civilized Communication at civcom.net.